Welcome to the Jamodi podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
I feel like I've told Jeff Clarkson and maybe Wes Watson. I don't know if I've told this to
One of
them
my
like
favorite
to their
human beings
face.
on this earth, by the way.
They're both incredible. And I do feel like God was really, I'm thankful for his plan, thankful that he put those two guys in my life at that time, because I wasn't a very good assistant coach. Now, if they were on here, they would say nice things because they're good people.
Yeah.
But there were times where Jeff Clark, I didn't show up because of my poor out of school living habits that I was doing. I didn't show up and I wasn't consistent. And Jeff always was kind and helped me out. Wes even more, because there were things going on in those first 5 years with him that I was just a mess at times, and he was just so forgiving and understanding. But I don't think I was a very good assistant coach at times. That word humility, losing will allow you to get more humble. And that happened to me early on. Relationships and teams that you feel like you failed. You talked about apologizing to old players. I feel that way all the time, that I need to apologize to those first few teams at Faith where, man, I was so arrogant, thought I had it figured out. And now I realize I don't have it figured out.
Yeah.
And now I can really help them because I know that I don't have it figured out. So I'm going to keep trying, like you said, keep trying to find a way. But
Love that.
I wish I was better for those guys back in the day. You've been a head coach for a long time, but then also gone back and forth from that assistant role. How do you make that transition or that change back and forth?
Yeah. And I've got friends that have done it, like Jeff. He's an assistant for the last couple of years, and how successful was Jeff? Over 20 plus years, it's crazy. And we talk all the time and so on. And sometimes I think it's a struggle, if you let your ego get involved, maybe. And, I've been lucky again to work with good people that have maybe seen something that I can help with, and they let me, jump in and so on. And I just kind of and I was going to say it a little while ago, and I think I forgot what I was going to say. But I make the joke around here about with friends that I know here that, hey, I'm just trying to be the assistant men's basketball coach. I'm not trying to get in any other sports business, or I'm just trying to just do my job. And, it's interesting that I've had to tell myself that, Tony, you just got to put your head down and do a great job, at what you're doing, and so on, and get out of your own way. Talk about all the time with our kids to be selfless instead of selfish. The world wants them to be selfish, okay? And we want them to be selfless, and so on, and so I've got to tell myself that, hey, maybe it's not my role. It's not my job. It's not my deal. Like, for example, I was a big talk with the officials guy, sometimes, to the point where they, popped me, or I had to told me that, well, obviously second chair, you don't get to talk to the officials and such. So that's been an adjustment for me. Especially coming out of junior college. Gracious, Matt, at Division I, those coaches get to hoot and holler at those officials to, even a lot farther than, you might at the high school level and so on. Well, I don't get to say a word to them, short of, something funny or whatever. And so that's kind of been an adjustment to me. And so on. But you just got to kind of humble yourself. And I just really am blessed to be here. I was blessed to get to work with Bubba. I knew of Bubba, and we knew each other a little bit from being out in West Texas when I was out there for so long. But I never knew Bubba until we really got to know him, close to best friends now. I mean, he's a great guy, great coach. And some of his stories about Coach Knight and, and all that stuff. And Bubba being such a phenomenal player. I mean, who am I to think I should be in his position? I was blessed to be there. And Jim Sagona, gracious, he's so good. I was just blessed to be there and such. And so I'm just really having a good time, trying to love the kids, trying to bring to Howard Payne what I feel like I'm good at, and that's relationships with kids and recruiting, relationships with them when they get here. And I'm lucky that Coach Dowley lets me do a lot. So I'm excited about that.
I appreciate you sharing that. I think that's a good message for all of us to remember, to be where our feet are.
Yeah.
You said you just want to be the best basketball coach, men's basketball coach that you can be. But throughout the school day, I need to be the very best first period basketball coach, but then I need to transition to being the very best speech communications teacher for those students. And then I need to move back around to be with eighth period with our freshmen and be their very, very best. And I think the idea of, you almost said it, Coach, I thought you might, is glad to be here.
Yeah.
You said blessed to be here, which is the same, but glad to be here is the Blue Angels mantra. And I got this from the guys at Laterno that I thought was really good. They have glad to be here in their locker room.
Yeah.
But the Blue Angels talk about that as glad to be here is a mentality that can shift how you show up every day.
Yeah.
And I think when you say blessed to be here, that's on the good days. That's on the tough days.
Right.
That's on days when you're not very happy with your players and they might not be very happy with you. But I think that shift, the goal for all of us is to show up, I think, that way.
Yeah. It's a juggling act, and it's hard. If you're a competitive person, I know you're extremely competitive, and I'm competitive, and I've always said this, that Coach you know Coach Knight, or Coach Krzyzewski, or whoever the case is. Their ego is huge, and how they handle their ego is how their perception of that we have of them. I mean, the ones that are hooting and hollering and so on and so forth, and we're going, oh no, the regular person, and the ones that are nice and sweet, or at least in public, you're going, oh, we love him, but they all believe, and I'm saying this in a positive way. They all believe what they do, everyone else is second best to what they're doing. And it trickles down in their program. It's a trickle down effect. And the confidence in their assistants, the assistant has confidence in the boss, and so on and so forth, and all the way down through the players and to the manager, and so on and so forth, and to the alumni, and so on. I think Grant is a perfect example.
Wow. Yeah. The level of belief he gets from everybody is incredible.
I haven't talked with Grant since I heard this, but when he got the job, he was on a podcast with Jim Rome, and Jim Rome was asking him about, his growing up in coaching, starting out in JUCO and going Division II and so on and so forth. And Grant said something about Clarendon, and I got to call him and say, hey man, you could have hooked me up a little bit more, but, about how, driving 4 hours, going to Clarendon, Texas, playing a game, getting beaten double overtime, having to drive the bus home, this, that, and the other. And Rome was asking him, would you be at Texas Tech if you hadn't went through all those struggles down the road? And of course, Grant said, no, I mean, all those have, helped me get to the point where we are now, and so on and so forth. But, coaching is I tell young coaches all the time, because I did this, and I don't know that they do them anymore. For example, does Baylor have overnight camps now?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Only for the younger.
Yeah.
Maybe for the younger kids still. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I used to work all the old Southwest Conference overnight camps,
Uh,
and make my $125 for the week and, that stay in the dorm and eat in the caf. But, I met so many people doing that, at Baylor and at SMU and Texas A&M and M and TCU and at Tech and, and coaching is such a fraternity, um, that like Kyle Smith, the head coach at Stanford. Kyle and I became buddies. We were roommates at SMU for 2 weeks in a row. And this was back in 91, whatever. So Kyle and I are, I mean, we know each other, just on and on and on, Ross and, Grant was at Baylor, back then, got to know them, that Brian England, and it's just kind of a fraternity. And, uh, again, I'm just kind of lucky to be a part of it. And I'm really, just kind of humbled, getting.
I feel the same way. I feel the same way about getting to do this. And I gotta, it's kind of crazy sometimes to even, you're at 37 years to say 19 years because it doesn't feel like that. Those moments kind of catch me off guard and I realize how fast this goes and how much we got to take advantage. I know you understand that but I agree with the fraternity piece. I love getting to do this. Like, how else would I have you held? Well, how else could I hold you captive, for an hour and a half? But just to get to see you and have these talks, every
Right.
one of them, like, is special, and I love it. But there is something that I hope coaches don't, especially younger ones and guys my age, that we don't miss or forget the in person, the clinics, going to camps, working those because in part, maybe getting back into public school will help me to kinda feel like I'm back a part of it.
Right.
The last 12 years at Faith in the private school world, it's just a different fraternity that I hope coaches still take advantage of, and they talk the way that you do about it.
People ask me this all the time. And when you get to my age, they'll be asking you, you'll probably still be in shape and so on and that. And I applaud you for that, but I'm going to catch it, with that shot.
You're doing the work.
But,
Yeah.
anyway, they say, well, Tony, how much longer are you going to do this? And I said, well, here's the deal. I'm adequate at maximum at this, adequate only. I'm terrible at everything else. So what choice do I have? I don't have any other choice, I guess Walmart, I don't know.
You would be a heck of a greeter. I'll tell you that. I think every person would
Uh,
walk into there. Maybe they had a bad day, but they see you, and because I've always felt that way about you. You just make people smile, and you make them feel better about their day. Coach, that's why I compare you to Coach Thomas so much. I think he had that ability too.
yeah.
But you could do that. I felt the same way, and I think it is good sometimes for coaches to think about doing other things and maybe even experimenting with that because nobody says that when you start in your early 20s doing this, you have to do it for 40 years. There's no rule that says that. But during COVID, I did try real estate. I got my license. And I helped a couple family members, and I did take one family from open house all the way through to buying it and all the way through. I busted it for about 8 months, coach, and here's what I realized. If basketball's not a part of it, I don't have any passion for it.
Yeah.
I don't wanna do it,
I love it.
and I'm like you said, I'm not really good at anything else. So, you and I, coach, we're just blessed to be here.
I love what you said. My dad lost my dad 4 years ago and such, but he was a major sports fan, played in college, he just loved all the sports really. But he was a salesman. He started out at Coca-Cola and then he ended up selling Snap-on tools you know, and I can promise you, and my mom will attest to this, who's still with us, that when my dad got his job at Snap-on, he didn't know the difference between a flathead screwdriver and a Phillips head, but he could dang sure sell it to you. And he was just a salesman. And I just could never picture myself not, I started out in the golf business. I was a golf pro for, uh, about 2.5 years. And,
I know that.
Yeah, and then I always knew I wanted to coach and such, and but I just can never, uh, picture myself doing something, now. What was so cool about my dad was he found a way to find joy in what he was doing, which I thought made him a special kind of guy, or at least in my mind. But yeah, I couldn't picture myself doing much or doing it very long. I mean, I'm the type of guy that if I was a real estate guy, I would do a really good job because I would really work at it for about 6 to 8 months and then just be crazily
I
bored.
was leaving Faith, and this was out of season, obviously, but I was leaving Faith, and I was busting it 30 minutes, 40 minutes to do a showing with a young couple, and we'd be there. We'd try a couple homes and everything, and then a week later for them to call me and say, "You know what? We're just not. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna take a step back." And I was just like, again, no basketball in it, but then why am I doing this? But I'm thankful for that. The feeling of should I test the waters? Is there something else that I could be doing financially to help my family more? That's for sure. But
Absolutely.
maybe a way that I can help other people, and maybe with if I maybe I have other gifts.
Yeah.
That was just kind of this thing, and I realized no, this is it. This is what
Right.
I'm supposed to do. But since then, I've kind of been I was all in before, but even more to where I think this kind of came from that of, okay, this is my career. This is my calling. Well, now I really want to become the best that I can be. So I need to learn from everybody that I can.
Right.
And good thing that everybody learned about Zoom or video call during COVID. So this is not that strange.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.